views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Sunflower Media Mint. Some programs might include strong images or language that might be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
What can you do with 30 minutes? For us, we define things. Straightforward. New perspectives. No gray area. It is black and white. You're listening to the New You Podcast.
Good evening. Back to the pod on a Tuesday night, 2nd of June. The New You Podcast live on Facebook. You can catch us after on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can download the episodes. You can listen to the previous episodes as well. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. You can check out the images or, of course, the videos on YouTube as well afterwards. For the night, it's going to be different. As we talk about society and culture, and we know for a fact that basketball is a big part of the culture here in the Philippines. Our guest for tonight is actually Mike Cortez, Coolcat himself. Good evening, Mike. Welcome to the podcast.
Good evening. Good evening.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Man.
Okay, this is
Good evening.
still on the show with Reg. Mike, how's lockdown? How's the quarantine?
Are we still in the lockdown?
Well,
The day 70, 76, 77, something like that. I stopped counting, but I mean,
I
for the
lost
most part, it's been good. Been spending time with family. Been trying to keep in touch with people as much as possible. Spending time with my family. So, trying to keep busy as much as possible.
Well, I think that's the reason. One of the reasons actually when we started this show, when we started this podcast, the new you. It's all about interacting to the outside. We're all tied up at home right now, and well, what better way to be engaged with outside world, and that's actually the way of communicating with each other. Okay, just a second, hold on. Okay, so well, it's the new basketball. For this podcast, for this episode, we're not really going to talk about how basketball is changing, like how the game is changing really from a physical game to a 3-point shooting game. It's not really like that. I mean, we can leave that to a lot of groups right now discussing those things or whoever is the GOAT per se. But it's more on how basketball is changing based on the guidelines that FIBA released recently. Okay, so well, uh, as what we posted on our social media pages, we will have a two-part episode for the basketball episodes. It's because it's really that big, and for Filipinos, it's part of the life. So for this evening, for today, we have Mike on the show, talking about the player's perspective. Okay, so Mike, being a basketball player here, there's a lot of guidelines that FIBA released. Okay, and I mean for one is actually avoiding a lot of physical contacts. When we say about physical contacts, including high fives, avoid high fives, avoid engaging with your teammates, and lastly, engaging with yeah, exactly. I mean, engaging with the fans. So basketball here in the Philippines is that alive, I would say, compared to different sports in the country. It's because of the fans. I mean, we all know how diehard the fans are for basketball. And what's your take on that? I mean, of course, it's all for the safety and the welfare of everyone else, the players, the coaches, the fans as well. But how do you see it changing? I mean, if we're going to follow those rules, how do you see the people, the fans themselves approaching basketball different?
I think it takes away a little bit of the passion of the game. Um, that's for one. If I can't engage with the fans, like you said, I mean they're 90% part of what we do, right? And like the PBA and the NBA, they're entertainment,
Hmm.
right? And so if we can't entertain the people, if we're gonna play without fans or anybody inside the arenas watching, I think it'll be tough to play like that. But the players have to be professional about it, and if we're called upon to play, then I think as long as they put us in a position where we are going to be 100% healthy and we don't have to worry about catching COVID or anything like that, then I'm all for it. But in my opinion, as long as there's not a vaccine, then there's no way that we can really push forward. Not only in basketball, but just life in general. I mean, having two kids of my own, like I'm scared for them to even go outside and mingle with people because there's so many unknowns about COVID.
That's
So
true.
many
That's
unknowns
true.
about it, and I mean, I've seen people back home in America, their families catch it and die from it. So it's kind of touched home with me, and it's something that I really wouldn't want to see any of my family members, let alone my teammates, really go through.
Mm-mm.
You're if you think about it, you're dealing with almost 20, 30 different people on one team, including personnel, including utility, including assistant coaches, and we don't know after practices or training where everyone's going.
Yeah, that's true.
And so um, I love my teammates and my coaches to death and everybody in the PBA, but like I don't know who you're interacting with back when you leave the compound, when you leave training facilities, when you leave practice facilities. So it's going to be hard for me to trust that everybody is still COVID free when they
Sure.
come back the next day. So I think it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. As long as there's no vaccine, man, it's going to be kind of tough for play. I know players are dying to play. Players are dying to play, and they're kind of trying to find ways to stay engaged during this quarantine, whether it be on YouTube doing home workouts,
Yeah.
whatever they can do. So it's going to be a tough transition into the new normal, man.
And to be honest, Michael, on your level, guys, I mean, you being professional players of the game, okay, there is this difference in terms of responsibility for how you influence. I mean, whatever the players do. I mean, all of us. I mean, I myself play basketball, but not on your level, of course. But on the professional note, I mean, if you guys are playing on the professional, you have that responsibility with your fans, with your followers. Okay, that whatever you think about or do exactly is something that the kids will follow. Okay, so I think a good thing here also that we should note about is we know for a fact that basketball is that big in the Philippines, but
Right.
with the discipline that the sport gives the players, whoever the players, the streets or in a amateur or professional league, they know them for themselves that they can't play ball right now. Nobody can play ball right now. Okay, and we've seen how they followed. I mean, the workouts of the other players that they've been posting. We've seen Steph Curry doing some other stuff at home, or LeBron doing
Right.
whatever shit he has to do on his home as well. On
Right.
your level of basketball, I mean the professional side, you have that responsibility as well to engage and to what they call this, influence this younger
Right.
generation on what to do at this time of pandemic. Okay, but
Right.
moving on. I mean, one thing that's also funny here is avoid giving high fives. Man, what's your take on that? Imagine a basketball game wherein you did something good, you did something crazy, and then, no, even if I love my teammates, I cannot give you a high five, man. I can't do that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's something that you really like aren't supposed to really think about. That goes back to the passion that I was talking about earlier. Like if somebody makes a great play or you know what I mean, and that's almost second nature for players, not only professional players, but just basketball players in general. Oh, if I did, nice pass, right? Just stuff like that. And if I gotta make a second thought about doing that and not giving a high five or only like an elbow bump, and it's probably gonna take some time to get used to. And just to go back on what you were talking about, how us players as professionals, we have a responsibility to our fans. But I think as professionals, our health is the number one thing, especially as basketball players, man.
True.
And so we always have to put ourselves first, our health first, before anything else. Because without us being healthy, we wouldn't be able to perform every night. We wouldn't be able to perform on a daily basis.
Yep.
So I think you could see guys like Steph Curry and the other NBA players like Giannis and LeBron. They're putting their workouts out there. They're putting it on social media, so you can always follow them. And there's so much stuff on YouTube that you can just type in. With the way technology is now, man, you can just type in whatever you want to look up, whatever you're trying to do, how to do a crossover, how to do a jump shot like LeBron James. These are all the things that you can find on YouTube. So, but for my advice is everybody just put your health first, and you got to be conscious of the people around you and their health also, because I think the if you go into it thinking that the welfare of other people, then I think you'll realize that the health of other people around you is far more better than anything else. I mean, basketball will always be there.
Yes.
Soon as they get more information about this COVID, then we can start moving forward.
I agree on that one. Yeah. Reg, you as a fan of the game, what's your take on all of this basketball? We're all going back. I mean, we're on the second day of GCQ right now, right? But I know that we're on GCQ, but I think courts are still closed, right?
Courts are still closed.
Yeah.
Yep. Unless you have one. You have one at your home. I've seen other guys have them. They went back home to their provinces and they have them at home. So they're fortunate to have a basketball court.
They're very fortunate.
My kids have a mini court, so.
At least you get to shoot some hoops there, man. Reg, your take. I mean, being a fan of the game, how do you see this? Anything to throw in for the fans as well?
No, I was actually reading the comments because we had a few comments already from my friends that are tuning in who are like huge fans of Mike. So what I actually asked Aaron, well, my friend Aaron asked what's happening, has a question from Mike. So Mike, he says, with what's happening all over the world and the restrictions currently imposed on contact sports, do you have any messages for all the young hoopers out there who might be anxious about their dreams?
Your dreams and goals will always be something that'll be in your sight. Just for now, there's other ways to go about reaching that goal. Just every day, try to get better. Keep your head down and keep working. Because if you're not working, there's somebody out there that's outworking you. And so you don't have to post everything that you're doing.
Sure.
For me personally, I don't like to post the stuff that I do when I work out. It's just because I grew up in an era where we don't really share. We try to keep our workouts a secret. I don't like other people. I don't really like other people watching what I do and how I work. But with the era nowadays, there's, like I said, there's so much stuff on YouTube that you can type in and find workouts depending on what you want to do that day. But don't let outside situations affect your mindset. Just keep working. You want to control the things that you can. and you can't really control what other people are doing. You only control what you can do, and so just always have that mindset that don't keep your head down and keep working.
All right. Sorry, there's another question from my friends are commenting right now. So one of them wants me to ask you if you agree on the 22 team resumption of the NBA as well, because he said that they were voting today, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. The thing with the NBA is they're like $1 trillion company, $1 billion company. So
exactly.
People have to understand that there's so many people that lost their jobs and that work at the arenas, work behind the scenes. So the NBA is really trying to push and give, and I think they understand also it's something that not only America needs right now is sports, just to kind of give everybody a different look on what's been going on with the protests and everything.
Yes.
And I think America's looking for something to really help the people reunite again. But it's going to be tough. Like, there's so many questions to ask about who's going to go in and who do you keep out. So you're gonna isolate all these guys in one facility. But if whatever happens, if they do come back with a new season, there's gonna always be an asterisk mark next to whoever the champion for this one is. So I think for me, the best thing is to find out more about the COVID first, and because it'll suck if they start back up and then one of them gets positive, and now
exactly.
Exactly.
And then you need to stop everything again.
Need to stop everything again. So all that preparation you guys did and everything, and get everybody's hopes up, and then it's I mean, is that the risk you really want to take? So.
And I mean, for like them, I mean, the professional players, it's not really about just playing ball. It's not really about you wake up in the morning and then you go on the court and then you just go ahead and play ball. There's the reason why you guys train that hard, because it's another level. It's another way in terms of playing the sport. So, it's not about just resuming the games, but it's also we have to take note of the athletes as well, that they are fit to play at that level of performance. I mean, if we can all just say, just for the fans, okay, we'll resume the season next week. Okay, but we have to think about, hey, are the players prepared? I mean, are they prepared physically, mentally? Because that's tiring. I mean, you tire your body, your mind, the stress levels here, and so on. Okay, but yeah, there's a lot to think about in terms of resuming the season. I think from the news, they're talking to Disney, right? To resume the season.
Right, but I think if they do resume the season, they're going to give teams like a proper 4 to 6 weeks to get their players in top shape. And usually, sometimes like this, NBA guys, they don't. I mean, not only NBA guys, but professional athletes in general, they usually don't get out of shape. They'll say they're not going to be in game competition shape, but they're not going to be sitting around on their butt like playing PlayStation all day. These guys are professionals. These guys are true professionals, man. And I wouldn't put it past. Mostly 99% of these guys usually have home gyms or can get to a facility with a snap of a finger, man.
Exactly.
And so, with that being said, these guys are probably in good shape. Not game shape, but in decent shape enough to get in top shape within 4 to 6 weeks. So, I don't think that'll be a factor if they do start up. The only factor is just that COVID, man, and
exactly.
And how are you gonna play without fans and broadcasting rights and just a lot of stuff that you got to iron out. And But I think they have a meeting today or later on today to really um, discuss on moving forward. I
And
think here in the Philippines, it'll be tough
mm,
because, like, look, already some colleges are closing their sports programs because of
Mm-hmm.
they don't have enough money, they don't have enough funds. Man, it's sad to
it's
see.
true.
Uh, like, if they want to move forward with a season, they would have to test everybody. I would think, right? Like almost every day. And I don't think these
Yeah.
schools have resources for that. Not all the schools would have the resources to do that. And so it'll be tough to play a UAP season, let's say, with only 4 teams or 5 teams.
They
So
they canceled the whole
um,
season, right, for UAAP. They canceled it already.
I
UAAP.
don't know.
Well, I'm not pretty sure, but yeah, I think one of the leagues also here in the country, MPBL, they already shut down the season. That
Oh, for this year,
yes, for this year, the MPBL. So they already shut it down. Anyway, well, going to other factors on this guidelines released by FIBA. Another thing there, it says train in small groups. I mean, man, uh, what's your take on that? I mean, you've been in practices, you've been in professional practices and all. Usually, for those listening, how many people are there in a practice?
maybe you got maybe 15 to 20 players, um, 4 to 6 utility, maybe about 4 to 6 coaches. Um, I think it's possible to do that. It's just finding that group and being able to trust that
Exactly.
everybody's COVID free, man.
Yeah. I think
But
that it's difficult because with COVID, some people they don't have the symptoms or they might be immune to it, but they can definitely be a courier for it. That's what makes it really
exactly,
Exactly.
terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm.
and I mean, not everybody on the team has kids,
True.
Yeah.
and not everybody on the team has family here. You know what I mean? So um, they would have to, if they're going to do small groups, then they would almost have to put players with players with families, and
Yeah. Fair.
guys who are single with guys who are single. So it's really tough to and you got to understand that usually a PBA team would have 2 to 3 hours per practice session. So in order for you to split up in small groups, you would have to extend your practice session to maybe
Double.
6 hours,
Yes, double it.
8 hours. That's more money. So, um, but I think professional teams they have the resources to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
that. But it's just to me, it just sounds like too much to worry about. And me as
Mm-mm.
a player going into a practice, if I have to worry about that, that's just one more factor. Like if I bump somebody, I'm like, oh man, oh.
I think what also I'm thinking there, Mike. If you're into practice, I mean, if we're going to break it down into smaller groups, of course, you guys learn plays in practices. Okay, you study plays, how you execute it,
Mhm.
and all. Now, if we break it down to smaller groups, would that be a factor in terms of executing this plays on live game? I mean, if you've been practicing with this type of small group, wherein you have player 1 to 5 only, and then in the actual games comes in the players from the other group, would that be a factor on how plays or the game is played?
Well, even 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 practicing as as a whole team, when you have 15 to 20 guys like a regular practice, there's still um, sometimes in the game where you guys are not on the same page.
Yeah,
You know,
true.
there's still that. There's still that. I mean, not every
Mm-mm.
game is going to be played perfectly. So,
Mm-mm.
um,
Yep.
It's
but I
not your
think,
day,
but
yes.
I think, but I think being a professional man, it's your job to know the plays. It's your job to understand what your other teammates like to do.
Mm-mm.
So I don't think that'll be a factor when it comes game time
Mm-mm.
um, because at the end of the day, their talent's going to come out and shine to me, and of course, there's going to be some miscues and mistakes. I mean, that's a given.
Mm-mm.
So it's just trying to minimize those mistakes. So it's usually the best team, the team that can minimize their mistakes are the teams that usually win.
Sounds fair.
Mm-hmm.
You have any other from the social media stream, Reg? I'm seeing questions also for Mike there. Well, Joseph Yo is watching. He says my idol.
Matt,
yeah.
Matt Salem is also asking. He says, "Hi, Coolcat. How do you prepare yourself for a game?" So yeah, they're both watching right now.
Hey, so I think before we go on with those on the stream right now, there's also one thing that I want to ask here. In terms of also the mentality, I mean, we've been discussing since the start of the show how it's going to affect how the game is played. I mean, we know for a fact that testing should be mandatory for a player to play, but
Yeah.
come to think of this, I mean, if you're if you came from an injury, okay, and then it's not really just a rehab physically, it's also there's a rehab mentally for you to be back on full shape. I mean that stigma that I might injure myself again. Okay, but with all of this what do you call this fear, uncertainty that we are all feeling right now. I mean, not all, but there are players, there are people affected by this stigma that okay, it's not safe. I mean, even though there's a vaccine, but like what you mentioned, if there's a factor for family that you might get infected and then pass it on to your family members, definitely the fear is going to be bigger. So with that mindset, Mike, do you think it would affect even professional players on how they perform? I mean, we're all people here. Even you say that hey, they're professionals, they do it as a living and all. But come to think of it, we're talking about life and death with this pandemic right now. I mean, even if there's vaccine, okay, getting infected is not a small deal. So if we put that into the perspective of the game, okay, and in the injury perspective,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it would affect the minds of the players as well? That hey, I should lessen my physical contact, I should lessen or change how I play in the inside and extend more on the outside shooting type of the game. I should reinvent myself with the 3 point shooting so I get lesser contact with those inside, you know.
Um, I think that it's not going to change the mentality of players, man. To me, um, I think if you're born to play, man, then that's what you got to do. Because the more that you make Enot,
Mm,
the more that you're gonna be more chance you're gonna get hurt.
true.
Um, the if you're gonna walk on thin ice during a game, then you're gonna be a liability, and
Yeah,
you can hurt yourself. You can hurt another player.
true.
So I think um, the coaches and the coaching staff will see that and they'll probably just take you out of the game. But I don't think you can have that mentality coming in. You just have to be 100% sure that you got to live and die with the consequences, man. I mean, it's the profession you chose. Um, it's kind of what I went through when I tore my ACL. I tore my ACL 2 times,
Yes.
and of course, there's always that mental aspect of coming back to play. ACL injuries, it takes about 6 months to come back to play, and so when you first step on that court for after 6 months, it's very mentally challenging because the game is going to be moving so fast, and it takes a while to get used to, and you just got to trust that you did your rehab and you're strengthening properly, and that your legs will hold up. Because, like I said, man, the more that you make ingat, the more that you try not to get hurt. Those are the people that usually get hurt.
Exactly. Because you're really more conscious on how you move. So you attract negativity. That's the point of it. Whatever you think about, you attract it. So think about positivity, and positive things happen. Reg, anything on the stream? I mean, people. I think I'm seeing people right now asking some questions on my see Anjos.
I'm sorry. I didn't catch you there. What did you say?
Are there any people on the stream right now tuning? I mean, Anjo. I mean, Mike. There's a question here. What's your most memorable moment in LaSalle? I mean, playing for LaSalle. I guess not really in the school.
Of course,
Yeah.
of course having all the fans in the arena, and it's just the camaraderie with my teammates before, and walking through Pebble Wash, and being able to mingle with the student body, just all of that I cherish, man, and it was a fun 4 years for me. The cherishing winning those championships and playing with my teammates like Ran, Mon Jose, Mac Kuan, Mac, the Ninja. All those guys really helped shape and help me get through the early years of my career. When I first got here, I didn't know any Tagalog. I didn't understand. I didn't speak any Tagalog. So they helped me get around, man, and just those are the times that I cherish, man. Just hanging out with the guys and not having any responsibilities of just playing and going to school.
Well, as they say, college games are very, very different compared to if you're playing professionally. So, Reg, anything to add?
Well, one thing that's for sure, something I agree with Mike, is that definitely this is a pandemic we're living in, so our health is not a joke. Like what Mike said, it's really always best for us to make sure that we are safe. We're not in contact with too much people. It's very scary because the thing about COVID is that it spreads easily as well. Also once you guys start playing, or once they start playing with the NBA season, it's not going to be the same as before. Definitely not, especially since you can't really fill up. Like, for example, say you up here, punong-puno, like our arenas are filled up with so many people, and the crowd and the atmosphere is just so different as well. But, I'm hoping for better days, and I'm hoping that eventually we'll have a vaccine so that things normalize. Yeah. Definitely things will go back to normal eventually, but right now it's just not going to happen. And I mean, for me, I think honestly, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And if it will be, it won't be as safe for the players, for the crew, and for the people watching as well.
Yeah. I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic and say we're going to be able to get back to the new normal. I mean, to the old normal.
Yeah.
It's just as soon as we get a vaccine and we get everybody's mind off of not getting infected, and because I think right now there's just so many unknowns right now, and we're just opening the Philippines back up because economy-wise, we really need it.
Exactly.
And I could understand that part. I could understand that, but it's just so many things that you gotta go through just to get a haircut. Like, I gotta clean my shoes twice. I gotta wash my hands. I gotta fill out a form. I can't talk on my phone. There's just so many things, like, but I'm optimistic that it's going to get back to the to the old normal. Sorry. It's just going to take some time. I think the problem is like with social media and everything is that people want it right away. You know what I mean? And like they want things right away. And I think that with COVID, it's kind of helped everybody take a step back and look and really realize what means what things what means to them. You know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like what is that? Family, of course. Your health. You're not worried about what kind of car you drive or what kind of shoes you have or what, you know what I mean? You're not worried about all those materialistic. So I think that's what COVID kind of did for everybody. And it just made everybody take a step back and slow down a little bit and kind of because everybody's stuck on their phones all day, you know what I mean? And going through social media where the kind of likes they got and like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And somebody posted, so and so posted this, so I gotta go get it. So it's just kind of make everybody take a step back and I believe in that balance. Like the world is gonna balance itself. Like everything's gonna have a balance. You can't have too much of this. You can't have too much of that.
Yeah.
So I think right now it's the world is just kind of balancing itself right now and trying to do away with the good and trying to give more. I mean, do away with the bad and get more good in the world. I mean, that's my perspective.
Well, my take on this one before we wrap things up for this episode. Well, before I do this, well, Mike, thank you for thank you for being on the show. I mean, it's our pleasure to have you in this episode for the U basketball. Okay. So for my take on the new basketball, it's you remember how people or the athletes or the players of the game always talk about it's bigger than basketball. This is bigger than basketball. Okay, we know for a fact that basketball is that big in terms of the Filipino culture. Yeah, but at the same time, what we're having right now in this pandemic, this is bigger than basketball. And as a community that actually plays the game or loves the game, okay, it's about following those guidelines given to us. I mean, there are reasons wherein we might say that it could affect the game, how the fans are following the game, and the other stuff. But like what you mentioned earlier, what's important here first is that we're all alive. Remember, I mean, if anything happens to us,
Yeah, man.
if
That's true.
yeah, if we get infected, I mean, that's by basketball. I mean, you cannot play ball afterwards. I mean, those who stayed at home, they can still play afterwards. They can still go out and then play. But for those people who doesn't know how to listen and would still go out just for the sake of going out and gets infected with this virus, then it's going to be a bigger problem for them. So it's going to be a bigger. I mean, those are the things. I mean, we had Mo on the show with previous episodes, and he was like talking about okay at this time and this point of time, you have to weigh things. I mean, we talked about gaslighting. We talked about how marketing is going to be a big factor in terms of manipulating the market and doing or going back to normal, even though it's not yet normal, something like that. And then what he mentioned that I want to reiterate here and want to share is actually uh it's more of you have to be solid in your core on what you want. I mean, we know for a fact that for us who loves the game, we will be tempted to play basketball. I mean, once we hear that ball bounce in the court, okay, you know that you could be rushing down and then getting your sneakers off and then tying it up and then just going it. But for him, his obsession right now is being alive. And that is
Right.
bigger than any obsession out there that we can all have. For the new basketball, yeah, it's going to change. I mean, we've seen theaters, we've seen a lot of big arenas removing some of their seats right now. So I mean, until there's vaccine, until we all go back, we cannot say that those arenas will all be filled again. Okay, there are a lot of engagement, I think, that could happen in terms of the digital way of experiencing this. I mean, we know that there's hype in terms of watching the games live, but there are ways. I think NBA 2 seasons ago experimented this 360 virtual experience wherein you buy that seat and then there's a 360 camera there. You're actually sitting right there. Okay, so you're like
Right.
buying that experience. At the same time, if
Like
you
a
need,
VR.
yeah, like a VR, exactly, that you see the person behind you or beside you as if you're in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And
You just
also,
can't physically touch.
exactly, but
Yeah.
you have that perspective, that eye level perspective of that you're sitting front row watching the games live. Okay. Another thing is, well, if we do all of this league pass, all of this watching online, well, if they enable something like this streaming and all, wherein we get to dial in also with the audio, and then you mix up everything in the arena. You hear
Yeah.
the sound of the game as well. I mean, if the players will miss those fans watching the games live, it can be a solution. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd rather take it seeing and watching basketball. Okay, having to see the game that I love again being played.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoying it in any way possible, and I'm okay with that. I don't know, I don't speak for everyone. Okay, but I'm okay. I mean, with the NBA resuming on how they plan to resume and all, PBA and other leagues out there. I just want to watch ball again. That's it. But on top of that, well, being safe, being alive is what is really important for me right now. Okay, Mike, thanks for tonight. I mean, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks,
Sure.
Mike.
Anytime. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Reg, anything?
Um,
Yeah, Mike. Go on.
I just want to, yeah, I just want to say a special prayer out for those people, those families that lost all their stuff in Mandaluyong last night. There was a
Mm-hmm.
big fire last night, and then there was about 800
Yeah.
800 houses
Yes.
that were affected.
Mm-mm.
Um, and I think it was in Barangay Addition Hills, and they're number one in COVID cases. So
Mm.
um, it was really tough to see them go through that, and I just want to give a special prayer for them, and hopefully they'll find some kind of light from what had happened to them last night. It's a it's it's a crazy world we're living in right now,
It
and
is, man. It is.
every day is something new. I'm scared to turn on the news, um,
Yeah.
especially with what's going on in America. I have so much family in America, and
Yeah.
it's just tough to see. But I think something's good. Something big is going to come out of what's been going on. I think it's about time that somebody stepped up and said something, and they're doing it as a whole,
That's true.
and they're doing it as a community, and you can see everybody uniting. Um, so thank you guys for having me.
Sure. Well,
When
our
when
pleasure to have
back
you
on
here, man.
anytime.
Just stay safe. I mean, the boys. I mean, earlier in the pre-show, we're talking. You have two boys right now playing, right?
Yep, yep. 18-year-old and a 13, 14-year-old. So
Greenies.
kind of it's kind of there. This is going to be their world now. So I'm just trying to give them a guiding light to them every day, and trying to share my experiences with them every day, and um, try to help them keep pushing.
Perfect. Enjoying fatherhood, man. Enjoying retirement. Well, Reg, anything to add? I mean, anything to say before we close the show?
So I just wanted to tell all our viewers right now that if you guys have been enjoying this episode, don't forget to like our Facebook page at facebook.com/thenewhughph and follow it as well on Instagram at thenewhughph.
Okay.
Uh,
So once again, to those listening right now, tuned in right now. So Reg mentioned everything. So I have nothing else to add. Mike, thank you again for thank you for guesting on the show. Well, tomorrow night, as we said, this is going to be a back-to-back basketball episode. So we'll have Coach Chot Reyes on the show. Still talking about this FIBA guidelines and all, but more on the coach perspective. So
Yeah,
tune in again. I
he will
mean,
definitely he will definitely have a better a better opinion about what these new guidelines because he's coached in FIBA, he's coached internationally, so he would have a better feel for the game. He's been around for so long, such a great coach, so many accolades. So
it's true.
everybody out there, tune in. This is gonna be a good episode with him.
Okay. That's about for tonight. Okay, Mike, Reg, thanks again for tuning, guys. Bye bye.
bye, bye, guys. Stay safe.